Enter a room with no doors. Answer a question with no words. Solve a puzzle with no solution. Logic does not exist. It's time to play Fez. This is the last normal video of Fez I have to give you, but Fez does not stop here. There are many more mysteries to solve, plenty of lore to consider, and you can never spend too much time swimming into the sunset, and the reverse sunset. Even if you've been watching this whole time, I still thoroughly recommend buying and playing Fez yourself, and looking into some of the other secrets that, so far, only amount to flavor text. Above all else, I hope that you've realized just how easy and fun it is to lose yourself in this world, and give it a try sometime. Playing for an hour or two at a time, just wandering aimlessly until you see something interesting, is a great way to play. But I'll let you discover that for yourself later. Right now, let's head back in one more time. Well, hi there. Flight might have just been New Game Plus, not the shades specifically, but this intro sequence disables it for the obvious reason. What's this? Despite the menu option, this is actually New Game Plus Plus. As far as anyone knows so far, the 3D effect is purely cosmetic and isn't tied to any secrets. I haven't ever really used it on account of never having glasses nearby, and it also translates terribly to video, so we'll just turn that off and never think about it again. Man, after everything we did to fully restore the hexahedron, the only way we can progress is by breaking it again. Welcome to... Where am I? Welcome to Fez. Well, hi there. Oh, yeah, that is not comfortable. Now then, where were we? I think it's time to take a look at that one door. What is this place? It feels off. What's with this wireframe? It's like something's missing here. Or is it? The room is already gold, so I guess this is what it's supposed to be. In which case, let's move on and check out the other final things the game has to offer, starting with the observatory. The observatory's final secret is probably one of the hardest to even find in the game, let alone solve. If you had screen glare on your TV when you played this yourself, you probably had no hope of seeing it. When you enter the observatory, if you look through the telescope without moving it at all, wait until night falls, and enhance. Enhance. Enhance! Enhance! It might look like a simple set of rotation instructions, but this sequence of flashing lights is much longer than you'd think. The entire sequence is 96 flashes long, just long enough to last through one whole night cycle. The full sequence is left, right, left, right, left, left, right, left, left, right, left, right, left, right, left, 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 right, left, left, right, right, left, 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 right, left, right, left, right, left, 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 right, left, left, right, right, left, 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 right, left, right, left, right, left, 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 right, left, right, left, left, right, left, left, right, left, right, left, right, left, 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 right, left, right, left, left, right, left, left, right, left, right, left, right, left, 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 right, left, left, right, right, left, 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 right, left, right, left, right, left, left. That is far too long to just be a set of rotations or movements. So, maybe it's some kind of code that we have to translate. But how do we translate a code with only 2 letters in it? By translating it into a language that also only has 2 letters in it, obviously. Well, numbers. Binary. We all know it, it's the most basic form of information that computers recognize. Everything is either 0 or 1, off or on, no or yes, left or right. Now, that doesn't look any easier to comprehend, but since we've got binary here, let's pass it as such. Each 0 or 1 is a bit, and 8 bits is 1 byte. From there we can go to kilobytes, megabytes, gigabytes, and so on, but let's focus on bytes. Separating things out, we get these 12 bytes, and suddenly we can see that we only have 3 distinct bytes, 2 of them repeated 3 times each, and 1 repeated 6 times. At this point, online facts would have you believe that you'd need to convert these bytes from binary into hexadecimal, then look up the hex values on the ASCII table to find the actual letters that these bytes translate to. But there is literally no point in doing that, because just taking the actual number from each byte gives us the correct character to find on the ASCII table. Or to simplify it even more, just doing a Google search for a binary to text translator which does the work for you. Whatever the method, the flashing lights ultimately translate to right shift, left shift, left shift, right shift, right shift, left shift. Those of you with quick eyes and a good memory might now wonder if we didn't already see right, left, left, right, right, left in that massive sequence of lights, and you would be entirely correct. This puzzle seriously shot itself in the foot by having the actual inputs you need to enter as a part of the original sequence, so it's very easy to not only stumble into your reward but completely miss what the actual puzzle is. In any case, let's collect our slightly long-winded reward. Whatever it is, it doesn't even look like we picked it up. There's no space for it on our inventory and no other indication here that we got it aside from the map border being gold and the extra percentage. Fun fact, it's worth exactly 3.14%. Let's move on. Once again, the waterfall beckons us. Oh, what? It looks like we have to spell something out. But I can't read this. How are we supposed to know what this even says? Fortunately, the answer isn't too far away. There's a lot connected to this waterfall screen. When I first explained the map screen, I specified that a gold border was for everything that the game considers progression found. Because in this screen, where we originally found the writing cube, the border will go gold, and if you don't pay attention at the time, you will almost certainly forget about it. The quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. The quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. The quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. The quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. Except, wait, the English alphabet has 26 letters, but a cube with 6 sides and 4 rotations per side would only have 24. And that's because Q and K share a letter, as do U and V. I always personally thought that the writing was supposed to be rotated 90 degrees like the input cipher, and that every single other person who played the game was overcomplicating things by reading it like traditional Japanese writing, top down, right to left. But as you'll see, there is merit to that line of thinking. Now then, let's have a look at what this is saying.
Please answer this security question. What's my name? Security question hint. My first half is what it is. My second half is half of what made it.
What it is and half of what made it? There's 8 letters, so I guess each is 4 letters long. What it is? Does it mean Fez? Because Fez is a game, and it was made by Phil Fish. But Game Fish doesn't sound right. No, it must be something else. It said what made it, not who made it. So maybe it's not talking about Phil, but instead his company, Polytron. Tron? That could fit. Man, referencing your own game company this much in your game, that's kind of meta, don't you think? Meta. On top of being the name of one of the archangels in Judaism and Christian folklore, Metatron's cube is a piece of sacred geometry. By taking the 13 circles that form the fruit of life and drawing a line from the center of each circle to the centers of every other circle, one can see all 5 of the Platonic solids: tetrahedron, hexahedron, octahedron, dodecahedron, icosahedron, as well as a tesseract, otherwise known as a hypercube, within the lines, although the dodecahedron's projection doesn't actually line up perfectly with the existing lines. The way we need to write the answer is kind of weird, and it lends credence to the Japanese writing being the correct solution. Left to right? No. We need to write it not just from right to left, but also such that when we rotate it 90 degrees counterclockwise, it'll spell the answer. And then once you've got it spelt out correctly for literally no reason, you need to rotate twice to get it to take. The puzzle itself is good. I like it. The method of actually answering the question is problematic, though. Before we move on, a quick detour. I intentionally skipped over this in the previous video, but mostly because I don't want anyone sparing any more thought on this than they have to. That's a pretty coincidental burn mark. I guess if we ever find the Polytron logo lying around, we'll know what to do. Ah, look at all that gold. Feels good. Just one thing left to do now. I could talk about the candles referencing that one owl room and owls meaning we should look in first person, but come on, it's a room with nothing in it. Of course we should use one of the abilities we have. Well, this looks like a pretty simple puzzle. is the most obtuse puzzle I have ever encountered, and I really don't say that lightly. It's fitting, I suppose, considering that the monolith, or monoliths, from 2001 A Space Odyssey were also absolute mysteries from beginning to end, but when you actually have to solve a puzzle rather than just have a bit of random theorizing, it's not especially helpful. Unlike every other puzzle in the entire game, there's absolutely no concrete hint that gives even a starting point from which to start making some logical leaps. Everything has to be an assumption for this. So where do we start? If there are no clues in-game, what do we look for? Well, we already know from the Metatron puzzle that the game is willing to be self-referential, so we could be looking for a clue that is outside the game. It still relates to the game, but is just external to it. What would be external to Fez, but still relate to Fez? There's the soundtrack, and the soundtrack does have some secrets in it. The images on each track have got a few hidden numbers in them, but they don't relate to the monolith at all, so that's a bit of a dead end. Plus, the soundtrack you can hear in-game, so it's not entirely outside of the game. What else is there? If we think about the markings on the floor in the room that we found the monolith in, and that burnt treasure map, they kind of look like the Polytron logo, right? So, in a way, the monolith is coming from Polytron. Polytron is giving us the monolith. But what is the monolith? In 2001, it was theorized for the longest time that the monolith was just a metaphor for alien life, shaping and guiding the human race at key points throughout its evolution. It was in 2006 that Rob Ager of Collative Learning put out his theory that was based on the many uses of 90-degree rotations of the camera and objects in relation to each other, and it theorized that the monolith is actually supposed to be viewed on its side, rotated 90 degrees, and that the monolith is a metaphor instead for the cinema screen upon which 2001 is being viewed. For all intents and purposes, the screen is 2001. It's a portal to the movie. So, if we applied that sort of theory to Fez, what does that mean that the monolith in Fez is? Is it a television screen? Is it an Xbox that the game was originally released on? Is the monolith Fez itself, not the world of Fez, but is the monolith representative of Fez, the video game, inside of Fez, the video game? The Polytron logo did give it to us. So if Polytron gave us Fez, how do we get something out of it? How do we release whatever is trapped inside of the monolith? Fez was released on the 13th of April 2012, 04132012. Something you might notice about any date written as they are is that they are 8 digits long. What else has 8 of something in it? Well, there's the input cipher, which we are assuming that we need to give the monolith. We need to put in some kind of input cipher that we don't know because it was burnt off of the map. So, perhaps we need to input this number into Fez, and that will give us something. How do we translate numbers into something that we can input in terms of up, down, left, right, rotations, and jump? Well, let's start by translating it into something that Fez actually understands. Now, if we take the zeros with no lines in them as a jump, and each of the single lines as an arrow, well, that's pretty clearly giving us jump left, up, down, right, jump, up, right. Left and right also have two inputs associated with them, so what do those mean? It could be either rotation or moving left and right. But since we know that we would have to be standing on a specific spot to use the code, we had to stand on a specific spot to summon the monolith, and it stands to reason that standing on the opposite spot where the code is burnt off of the treasure map, that's where we have to stand for that. If we have to stand in one specific spot, then we can't possibly move left or right, so that means that these are rotations, which gives us the code jump, left shift, up, down, right shift, jump, up, right shift. Does that work? Well, no, of course it wouldn't work. That's far too sensible. That's something that a human being could actually figure out in some given amount of time. Let's think back to the room that we found the monolith in, specifically the markings on the floor. Not only do they somewhat look like the Polytron logo, but they also bear striking resemblance to that symbol that we keep on finding throughout the world. Most noticeably, we find it on the secret doors that teleport us around the world, but we also saw it in a couple of key locations, including the tome. The tome is an entire other matter that I won't go into. Feel free to read it on your own time. But an important fact about the tome is that it doesn't get read in order from page 1 through to 8. Instead, it's read in the page order 1, 5, 2, 6, 3, 7, 4, 8. So, if we were to apply that order to the numbers we have here, that would give us 02401132, and converting that into the numbers that Fez understands, gives us jump right, left jump, up, up, down, right. Does that work? No, again, that's far too simple. Anyone could figure this much out. We're ignoring, of course, the fact here that we don't read numbers in Fez horizontally. No, we read numbers in Fez vertically. And not only do we read numbers in Fez vertically, but the input cipher is also normally written vertically. And to read it, we rotate it 90 degrees. Which gives us, instead, jump up, down, jump, left, left, right, up. Does that work? No, of course that doesn't work. Why would that work? It's ridiculous. Because, after all, to summon the monolith, we had to stand on a specific spot. As the treasure map showed, the code was written here, and we were told, via arrows, to stand on one specific area. But the arrows weren't just telling us where to stand. They were also telling us, look at the code from this direction and read it this way. That's how you would normally read a code as it was written vertically, rotate it 90 degrees and read it, but it still does say that. So, if we are assuming that we're going to have a code on this side and we're going to have to stand in the middle, since this would probably be the mirror image, that would put the code roughly here, and we will be told to stand here, which means that instead of rotating it this way, we will be looking at it from this direction, reading it that way. And if we rotate 90 degrees clockwise, now we have down, left, right, jump, up, down, jump. And does that work? There is no solution to the monolith. There are two ways to solve it, but there's no actual solution. How does that work? Fez was released on the 13th of April 2012. Within a day, possibly two, every other puzzle was solved, even the two red cubes that we already found. But the monolith was a complete mystery. The various communities of Fez scoured through the game looking for a clue that would tell them what to do. At some point, someone who was privy to the solution told them that it wasn't in-game. They actually confirmed that there is no hint to it in-game. So people eventually came to two possible conclusions. Either they wait for the soundtrack to be released several days later, because they had also been told that the soundtrack would have some hidden information in it, or they solve it by brute force. They chose the latter. With the 7 inputs that a player can do in Fez, up, down, left, right, rotations, and jump, there are approximately 5.7 million different 8-input combinations that could be the answer to the monolith. Fortunately, we can narrow that down a little. Like I said, there are only 5 inputs that we can actually do because we can't move left or right, or else that takes us off of the square. So there are actually only 390,000 different combos that it could be. Someone set up a website. It would give each visitor a set of 3 or 4 codes. Everyone was to try a few codes and report back. It took them until about the 19th of April to solve it. You would think that having the actual answer would let a community of several thousand people reverse engineer a solution, but it actually took quite a long time for someone to figure out a possible path of logic that one would have to follow to get the answer. As it turned out, the monolith solution is not an 8-input string. It's actually a 7-input string. On top of reducing the total possible combinations to 78,000 or so, it makes things a bit problematic, which is why I don't think that there is an actual solution. Because while this nonsense is total nonsense, this nonsense totally works. If we ignore the leading 0, and instead write the date as 4132012, and use the tone page order to reorder it to be 40111322, write it in the Fez number system vertically, orient it in the correct direction, it actually gives us the correct answer. The release date theory does work, and it gives us what the community found by brute force. Down, down, left, right, jump, up. Even if a person was able to figure out that they would have to get the release date, even if they figured out that they should convert it to the number system, even if they figured out that they needed to write it vertically, even if they figured out that they needed to rotate it 90 degrees clockwise instead of counterclockwise like they assume that they have to do for every other input string, even if they get all of that correct, there is no way anyone is going to solve this thing. Because no one's going to think of not putting in 8 inputs. No one's going to even begin to assume that. Ask anyone who has played through Fez to completion. No one has gotten the monolith without looking it up or being told the answer. If the monolith solution actually was 8 inputs long, even still using the release date theory, I'd actually say that's a really good puzzle. Incredibly obtuse still, but it wouldn't be the most obtuse puzzle I've ever encountered, and it would definitely still count as a puzzle. As it stands, I don't think it is a puzzle. As a side note, I don't think the release date theory is the actual solution. which is why I still don't think that it has a solution. At least I think it's incredibly improbable that it is. The release date theory is, after all, based on the release date, and Fez was notorious for being delayed over and over and over. At a certain point, it achieved vaporware status, and at that point I don't think that they would have ever bothered setting concrete deadlines with Microsoft until they knew that there was a game that could be shipped. So either they agreed with Microsoft what the release date would be before submitting the game for final certification, which is certainly possible, but not actually that likely, or Phil just made a very lucky guess on what the release date was going to be before submitting for final certification, which is also still possible, considering that if it got denied final certification, the next build that they submitted would just have an updated code based on an updated release date. If either one of those turned out to be true, then I'd be fully willing to admit that that is the solution, and that it's only a problem because it's based on 7 digits, not 8 digits, and that it's in no way a puzzle because no one's going to figure it out. But I still like the idea of a puzzle that could only be solved by the collective power of the internet pooling its resources and just trying every single possible combination of inputs. I think it's kind of incredible that that was achieved in the first place. To be able to put something out that, in the age of the internet, couldn't be sold almost immediately is certainly a feat. And I think it is a testament to the love and care that was put in to the game, that people were willing to scour through it in every possible detail, looking at every pixel from every angle, at every time of day, in 3D, in 2D, over and over and over, trying to find every possible secret. If I recall correctly, Phil Fish had said at some point after the release of Fez and after the monolith was solved that even then, not every mystery had been found in Fez. And I think that's amazing. To have something that still is somewhat of a curiosity. There are still plenty of mysteries in Fez that no one's figured out. People have largely given up on them because they just have exhausted every possible avenue. And I just think that takes a lot of love. Speaking of which,
Love. A game like Fez can't be made without love. To work for 4 years, designing and crafting the world over and over with scarce resources and the weight of the world bearing down on you the longer development takes, it would require an unfathomable love for the project. And this is it. This is Phil Fish bearing his heart and soul for all to see. This is Fez. No. No, Gomez, no. Gomez, you can't do this. You're not even supposed to know about this. It's buried in the game code itself. Is their love not enough for you? Don't do this to them. Don't do this to me. I don't want to go, Gomez. Gomez? Gomez? Gomez?